This is the 10th Sunday of Ordinary Time, and I'm Father George Corrigan here at St. Francis in Triangle, Virginia, with a few Sunday thoughts. Certainly there's a lot of chaos and stuff going on in that gospel reading. The family thinks Jesus is crazy. The scribes from Jerusalem thinks he's in league with the prince of demons. Just a lot going on. But my thoughts kind of come to the first reading. Very well-known story. Adam and Eve had already eaten the apple from the forbidden tree. And who told you you're naked? And they're about to get kicked out of the garden. I've been thinking about that this week. Something that we so often call the fall, right? The fall. Adam and Eve, they fell. It seems to me a better description would be rebellion. They were placed in the Garden of Eden. They had everything they could want. Fruits, vegetables, just everything. And all they had to do was eat from the tree of life, but not from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the question is, why is there forbidden fruit, so to speak? What was it in them, besides the whispers of the Satan said you can be like God? Well, you're already like God. You were made in God's image. What was it they wanted? And I think a number of commentaries have said, what goes on in that moment is far more than just a simple disobedience and far more than a sin. They wanted to elevate themselves beyond what they were created to be, not just to be something better, but to have moral autonomy from what God, in God's wisdom, has defined as this is good and this is evil. And it's that moment of the rebellion to say, no, I am morally autonomous. I will decide for me what's right and what's wrong. And there you see the seeds of the rebellion. And when you look at the book of Genesis, Genesis is this rolling tale of those who would elevate themselves and or those who would take moral autonomy and decide for themselves what is good, what is evil, what often just becomes what's expedient. And Cain kills Abel. But if you continue to read all the way up through Genesis 12, it is a story of the expanding cascade of people that are in rebellion against the good earth that God has given them. Symbolized in the end the great rebellion, the city of Babylon. The Babylon that would elevate themselves, build their tower, define what is bad to be good, and do what was necessary. That's why Egypt in the same Old Testament is the new Babylon. Those that would say, well, it's good that we prosper and therefore we'll enslave those people. And it's a story of our own lives. Are we people that are simply, we fall, or are those moments, and we do, but are there moments where we truly rebel, or we decide that we will be morally autonomous? And I'm not saying not to have moral agency, that we are, in fact, with free will responsible for that, but to say, no, my opinion, read the catechism, around paragraph 1776. What they're aiming at is not your opinion or even your conscience, your informed conscience. Moral autonomy is that, moral agency rather, is that gift we have of free will from God. But to be autonomous from what the leading of the Spirit we find in prayer, the Word of God presented in the sacrament, and from the teachings of the church that are spread, that is where, when we decide, well, for us, now we're on the edge of moral autonomy apart from God, and now we are a people of rebellion. Well, not the most uplifting of thoughts, but those are some thoughts as you go forward. In this modern world we live in, which is so complex, we have moral agency for sure, but are we applying the moral guidelines that God has presented in Word and Sacrament and the teachings of the Church, that we will stay in union with the Spirit, in union with the Church, and not in rebellion against what God has defined as good and bad. And those are some thoughts on a Sunday morning. God bless.